I started buying some single family rentals, became addicted to bigger pockets like everybody was 5, 8 years ago. Mike, you're always talking about real estate. I got these 6 properties I'm going to lose at tax auction. Would you be interested? I said, I'll give you 110, pick of the back taxes, which was like 20K in back taxes. I call a developer in that area. The next day, the developer says, I'll give you 240 for it. I'm like, holy cow, that that will work.
Mike, thank you for joining me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host over here, Matt Camp, head of partnerships at DealMachine. And on these, we really like to shine a spotlight on industry experts like yourself, hear your inspiring stories, and see how you see the real estate world evolving. So today, I'm really excited to welcome on Mike Balcom. You are a real estate investor, land flipper. I know you've closed multiple six-figure deals. You're really focused on team building and building a high-performing team. I'm excited to dig into that. And I would say you're an AI enthusiast as well, and how to use AI to really make a better performing company as well. So, Mike, really excited to have you on today. Thanks for taking the time out.
Oh, thanks for having me, Matt. Excited to be here. Excited to dive in and help your audience any way we can.
There we go. So, I mentioned a little bit about your background, but can you start there, just how you got into real estate and looking forward to kind of digging in here.
Yeah, absolutely. The way I got into real estate, to be honest with you, Matt, is I was getting fat. That's the truth of it. I was going to college, and while I was going to college, I was playing poker, and I was getting really fat doing so. And then I discovered pickleball. And during my journey during pickleball, I started buying some single family rentals, became addicted to bigger pockets like everybody was 5, 8 years ago. And then during this time, I was studying to underwrite large multifamily deals. And a guy in the pickleball court with me, he's like, Mike, you're always talking about real estate. I got these 6 properties I'm going to lose at tax auction. Would you be interested? I went home, did a ton of research. I made him an offer. I said, I'll give you 110, pick of the back taxes, which was like 20K in back taxes. He said, you got it. I thought it was worth maybe 180. These were 6 vacant lots. And sure enough, we get it under contract. I call a developer in that area. The next day, the developer says, I'll give you 240 for it. I'm like, holy cow, that will work. And at the time, I had a great VA working for me. And he said, Mike, I know you're studying underwriting for large multifamily. Why don't we do land flipping? Like, there's people that teach you how to do this. And he actually found one of those guru programs for me. And that's kind of how I got into this niche now of land flipping. And it's been about 4 years and just haven't looked back since. And I'm loving it.
Great story, man. The pickleball thing's super interesting. I grew up playing tennis, and recently got into pickleball because I found I can convince more friends to do that than try to figure out tennis, because there's a way bigger learning curve for tennis. So, and on the pickleball front, I mean, is there anything besides the networking, any lessons from your, really getting into that and that you apply to your day job, or you think's made you better at what you do, on the computer?
Yeah. Oh, that's hard. I mean, I ended up coaching pickleball for about 6 years, and I was very fortunate because it took me to one of the nicest clubs in the country. So I really got to rub about elbows with people that actually have like private jets and things like that. So it's great to network with such a high caliber of people. But pickleball also too is it's not about winning or losing, it's about making the right decision. And I think the same thing is true so much in real estate all the time. Try to make as few mistakes as possible. It's not about hitting that home run deal, even though those are nice, don't get me wrong, but it's more about always getting a consistent base hit or 2 base hit every single time. And I think that is so, so, so important to remember, because the reality of it is, like, we're in the real estate space, things get dirty, things get ugly. You can't predict the future. And no matter how much you try to underwrite, figure things out, stuff's going to hit the fan, unfortunately. Same thing when you're on a court, whether that gust of wind comes out of nowhere or somebody lobs a ball, next thing you know, you're staring in the sun and now you can't see straight for the next 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
It's just about being smart with your decisions, making the right decisions and the right actions. Don't always try to hit the home run. Don't spread yourself too thin. Do the thing you can hit 80% of the time.
That's a great answer. I see how you went from a poker to that. Like, he's the EV positive decision over and over, right? To but for pickleball, it's like, how do you like you said, do the right thing fundamentally, and over the long term, it'll play out in your favor that way. So,
All right. Side note here then. I will tell all your audience listening, you obviously know a lot about poker if you just drop EV so nonchalantly like that, Matt. Like, get out of here, dude. Now I just want to like dive deep into poker, but we'd get way off track. But
I love it.
dude, I love
That's
it. You kidding me? Nobody's ever dropping EV. That's expected value for anyone who's not knowing.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like you're playing probabilities, right? Like, so you're thinking, okay, if I make the right probability decision over and over again, long term, I'm going to be a winner. And so, same idea with pickleball. I've never seen like that comparison, but I can see how that pivots directly into that. So that's really cool, man. Nice. Well, fantastic. Well, starting there, I mean, I love what you're doing on from a kind of hearing your story and how you found land is a really interesting route. We definitely have a lot of people listening to this that would be, newer. Maybe they're working on that first deal or first couple deals. Do you see land as a great route? Just because I know, on our end, like DealMachine, as we've added more and more data, we have seen a lot more people come to our platform for land specifically. What advice do you have there for newbies who are thinking about getting into land specifically? Like, is that how would you guide them on that?
Yeah, stay away, stay out. I want all the deals. Yeah, stay out of it. So I truly think land is probably one of the most lucrative assets you can get into in the real estate space. And it's not as dirty, it's not as messy. You're not dealing with tenants, toilets, or trash. It's like, does it have road frontage? Can you get water there? Can you get electricity there? Is the site buildable? Okay, you're good to move forward. With that being said, oftentimes you're not dealing with sellers that are under stress to sell now. It's not like somebody's about to get foreclosed on their house and they're either facing bankruptcy, or they need to work with you. It's like these people, they usually have a little bit of extra money, they can afford extra land. So because of that, you need to be more sophisticated in your negotiations, but less sophisticated in your ability to underwrite or comp or make sure the deal is good. You're not dealing with Chinese drywall. You're not dealing with foundation issues. You don't care how old the roof is because there's not a roof.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways, it's way easier. In some ways, it's way harder. It's getting more and more saturated, but there's still, I mean, every time I'm on a flight, I look out the window and I'm like, holy cow. I wonder if any of those are mine. But there's just like so much land around. So plenty to go around. It's a great space, very warm, welcoming space. So I tell people to come on in.
Fantastic. And then, I mean, over time, I know you've done a fantastic job in that space, but then also building out teams, not just in land, but in a variety of businesses that have kind of supported your entrepreneurial endeavors that way, and have you've just done such a great job at kind of that team building culture as well. So, like, understanding how do I put people together that are a high functioning, high performing team. And again, I think we definitely skew a little bit more toward newbie into that kind of like scaling investor, but people that have that ambition as well around building a team and how do I, take this to the next level and be more of that visionary in my business rather than the one, in the nitty gritty every day. What advice do you have there for people as they start to build that team initially? Like, can you kind of give us a little bit of nuggets of advice you've learned over the years there?
Absolutely. Oh, nuggets of advice. I could go on forever. One thing I would definitely tell people to do: empower your team. Empower them, empower them, empower them. Everyone on my team, it doesn't matter what their role is, whether it's my executive assistant, whether it's a texter, whether it's a, intake manager, whatever their role is, they're no longer just a texter. It's now you are CEO of texting. My executive assistant, she is CEO of Mike's life. So I always want people to do that because what's so important is we want people to have an ownership perspective, a founder's mentality, someone who really owns the role, sits in the role, and takes charge of it. And I think it's often hard for a lot of us to do that because most of us, we were solopreneurs to begin with. We were a one-person shop. We figured it all out. We paid for the course. We watched way too many YouTube videos. We made it happen. We planned our first mailer or whatever it was. It probably failed miserably, but we learned so many things. And then we bring somebody on to handle some things. And then we watch them like a hawk. And we don't really get any of our time back doing that. And it's also too, I think we also, because so many of us bootstrap this to begin with, we have this mentality of, I know what works best because I've done it. You listen to me, I'm the boss, period. But that's not the case. I remember I have an amazing person. She's actually my COO now of the company. She came in as a texter about 3 years ago. And Matt, I had all the perfect SOPs, the quick replies, the everything to get done. I hand it all over to her. She doesn't follow any of it. And I meet with her about a week later. I'm like, Elise, I'm so disappointed. I said all this training material for you. I give it to you all. I've been reviewing your work and you didn't follow any of it. Like, what are you doing? And she looked at me. She said, Mike, your stuff's garbage. I've been working with house wholesalers for 7 years now. I know how to text way better than these SOPs you've given me. They're really not that good. And I got to tell you, she was 100% right. Higher response rates, better turnover. It's just amazing how much some of these people can do. And I think we don't give them enough benefit of the doubt. And I think it's easy for us to remember like VAs are people too, employees are people too. So I think it's so important to just empower people, and let them know like, hey, the more we grow, the more you'll grow. The more the business grows, the more it'll grow for all of us, personally, financially, everything imaginable. And I think that is a key difference from how I do things. It's truth to be told, I'm just lazy, Matt. I just hate doing stuff, to be honest with you, man. I really do. I'd rather just delegate it all out and just really empower someone else to do it and then just coach them up.
So, you going through that, it also makes me think as well. And, for a lot of our audience, I've heard this question a few times. When is the right time to hire? Like, when is the right time to start delegating, to bring in somebody like that? Is it, immediately? Is it, after you're a certain milestone? Like, how do you kind of give people advice there?
Yeah, that's so hard because it's personal preference on everyone, and it also just depends on financial abilities and things like that. One thing I tell a lot of people is get an executive assistant. I think that's probably the best role you can hire out immediately, just absolutely right away, because there's so many things we spend our time doing. I mean, even this call, for example, we were going to meet before, we had a little conflict interest in everything. I'm not calling you up and wasting your time, Matt. You're not calling me up. Like, we're busy professionals. We're running a team. But now our assistants are talking to one another saying, hey, this came up. Can we push it to this date? Oh, no, he has a conflict there. Can we do this date instead? Like, there's so much time that was saved there, or booking a flight or planning a trip. It goes on and on. We spend so much time doing things that are probably not even worth $15 an hour, but we do them because there's nobody else. So I would highly recommend buying back your time as quickly as possible, getting an assistant to just handle everyday things. Maybe those are some business things, and then grow from there. And then really look at pieces of your business that are easy to outsource, that are not high level intense tasks, like texting, for example, like writing up a contract, filling in a KPI report. Different things like that are just pretty simple. A lot of people on your team can do it, finding some comms, doing basic due diligence, calling the county. Now, if it comes to like negotiating with a seller, maybe that should be your seat for a while. That's a high level task, but anything that's not worth $20 an hour, if I couldn't say to you like, Matt, will you come and just work in my house and I'll pay you $10 an hour to comp property? You would say no. It's like, if you would say no to that for me, then why would I do that myself? Why aren't I empowering somebody else to do that? And they're probably happy to do it. I might hate it. They might love it. So I think the sooner the better. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and with that mindset as well, I know you do such a great job from an AI perspective of saying, okay, how do you, when you're talking about delegating and building out good systems and all of this here, you do a great job of leveraging AI as that evolves, and it's growing, it's evolving so fast and growing so quickly. You do a good job of kind of like implementing AI in different ways into your business. That's something that I know even in the DealMachine app, we have AI now within our dialer. We have AI in the property analysis. We have AI within our list building now. You can build lists based on the visual data using our AI assistant to help you do that kind of virtual drive for dollars instantly, right? So there's a lot we're doing on our end. I'd love to hear your advice there too, in terms of like, how do you build AI into your real estate business? How do you use AI as a productivity tool? Like, do you have a couple takeaways there, just really exciting, unique ways you're using it?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple different takes on this. One, not to go back to my texture, but I will tell you when ChatGPT first came out, this is 3.5. We're talking a year and a half ago now, maybe 2 years ago. So been a good minute now. I went to her immediately and I said, Elise, one of two things is going to happen in the next 6 months, I believe. She's like, what's up? I said, in the next 6 months, you're going to either continue doing what you're doing now And then I'm going to have to let you go because AI is going to take your spot, and it never takes holidays. It never has bathroom breaks. There's never any issues of it. And it'll work 7 days a week for me. Or you can figure out what AI tool should replace you in the next 6 months, and you can help us grow from there and really be a part of this journey. And I think that's just where, like, giving people that ownership and letting them know what's going on instead of letting people be scared, like, oh, AI is going to take my job. It's like, no, figure out how to make your job even more efficient with AI. And then
Mhm.
you can do even more. We can bring in more money. We don't have to bring on even more people. So I think that's important. What's also important too is no one on my team comes to me for questions anymore, ever. It's like if you have a question, your first resource is AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, DeepSeek, it doesn't matter. Go to that first. It's so much smarter than I am. Well, like way smarter. So that's how we do that. We do the same Dan Martell 131, bring us one problem, three potential solutions, the one you think is best. If people come to me and they're like, I can't think of three things, it's like, again, go to ChatGPT, talk to it. So at a very basic level, we're doing it that way. Where I think a lot of people mess up when they start implementing AI in their business and AI with their team, especially, is they don't teach their team. And I think a lot of people don't know this, the basic fundamentals of basic prompt engineering, for example. Telling if you're talking to ChatGPT, most people just say, how can I structure a seller financing contract? Versus you really should supply things like, what is its role? You're a master in law in the state of Tennessee, maybe this county. You specialize in seller finance agreements that don't leave anything ambiguous at all in it. Then the task is, write a contract for this property. These are the terms, blah, blah, blah. Format, put it in a professional text document that I can see it, and then context if you want it to pull from anything. But I think just telling an AI what its role is, and then as well as what its task is, everybody does tasks, that's the easiest one. And then how you want the format to be will help so much. And most people just don't realize that. And most people, they'll go to ChatGPT and they'll try
Mhm.
to do something, and then they're just not happy with the outcome. But it's like you didn't tell it what to do. I mean, if I hid this camera right now and I said, Matt, what should I wear today? You might pick out an okay outfit for me, but if I come to you and I say, Matt, you're a world renowned designer, I'm going to be on the best podcast in the world, DealMachine. All right, people are going to be able to watch me on YouTube. I have dark brown hair, green eyes, very white skin. What should I wear? It's like, okay, now you actually might pick out something that brings out my eyes more, that complements, anything else going on with me. So it's, you definitely want to learn how to prompt correctly, teach your team how to prompt correctly, so that way too you can really use these nuggets and then go deeper and deeper and really double the size of your team without actually bringing on another employee.
Yep. Yeah, the prompting is absolutely key. I mean, that's what with our AI vision builder, that's how it works as well. As we've got a couple preset prompts for people. You can click like physically distressed houses, for example, and say, okay, out of these 1,000 houses, show me every house that when you look at the street view images and the satellite imaging that it's physically distressed by. And then we give all the context to it of like, hey, here's what you're looking for. Here's the here's the instructions, the images you're looking at. So it'll kind of give you all that up front. But you can go in there and prompt whatever you'd like, and the people who are most successful with it are coming up with creative prompts. So I love your prompting framework and how to even think about that, and even your mindset of becoming the CEO of something, right? The CEO of whatever role you are. That's where it kind of unlocks that thinking of AI is not replacing what I'm doing; it's leveling up what I'm doing. Now I can leverage this as a super productivity tool, not as something that's replacing me completely, right? And so great advice, man. I really appreciate you kind of sharing that with our audience as well. So,
Oh,
um,
absolutely. Happy to do it. I mean, people just forget how smart everyone
mhm.
else is in the world, and it's hard to not micromanage people, but founders mentality, I preach it all the time to my team. I mean, even my EA recently, we're getting tons of data right now, and we need to work harder right now just for about a week and a half than we typically do, and we need more people for that.
Mhm.
But it's not that we need to hire all these employees. Well, she went out and found friends and family just to work for a week and a half on this, just to do it. She didn't ask me. She didn't get my blessing. She didn't get my permission. She knew, like, this is what Mike would want. So I went out and I just did it. And then she just billed me on the back end for it. And I'm like, that's what's up. That's what I want as an owner of a company. I want you to have freedom, and I want you to continue to grow the fire. Don't just keep it lit, like continue to grow the flame. And I'm very blessed to have a team that can do that. But it comes with us empowering them. A lot of people could do this already with their team. They're not willing to step back and let their team do things.
Yeah. So good, man. Great stuff. Really, I know we're up on time here. I really appreciate you coming on here, Mike. Again, thank you for sharing kind of that mindset with people. What's the best way for people to connect with you? I know you've got MikeBalcom.com, but is that the best place to be able to reach out, or?
They can do it there. They can shoot me an email, MEET at landbh.com. They can hit me up there. If they want to text me, nobody ever takes action on these things, so I'm happy to give a Google Voice number by 813-773-5631. You want to pick my brain on anything, have a quick question,
Amazing.
schedule a call, anything like that. Happy to connect.
That's awesome. Well, again, appreciate you being such a great resource for our community. Thanks for coming out. Cool. And to everyone watching on our end, Matt Camp over here. Happy deal finding, guys.